can you get this egg out of my McMuffin? So tonight, in honor of America, I'd like to do a salute to abortion in the Break's 10th annual Salute to Abortion.
Passed the bill on the 46th anniversary of Roe versus Wade. The governor holding a signing ceremony earlier tonight in Albany. The bill was first introduced in 2007 and removes abortion from the state criminal code and ensures women the right to an abortion in New York, should that federal right ever be changed by the Supreme Court. But Cuomo thinks it should be taken a step further.
And do a constitutional amendment so no governor, no legislator, no political swing can ever jeopardize a woman's right to control her own body in this state.
The New York State Catholic Conference and Bishop Robert Cunningham are strongly opposed to the bill, saying New York is moving in the wrong direction by empowering more doctors to provide abortions and removing all state restrictions on late-term procedures.
But instead, today is the day we find out just how horrific abortion is in its last term, waiting until the baby is practically ready to be born. In fact, 5 minutes before it's born. I want you to listen to a couple of guys, and then I want you to look at the video of the horror on the senators' faces when this type of abortion is signed into law, like they did in New York, like they tried to do in Virginia. This is nothing short of genocide, and God is not smiling on us today. In fact, these people will all be held accountable in God's kingdom. They will surely burn in the fires of hell for dismemberment and murder, of outright murdering of babies. In today's age, there's just no reason to be pregnant if you choose not to be. There's a $7 box of rubbers all the way up to the IUDs. There's 100 different ways to prevent pregnancy. And if you're too stupid to find one, then maybe you're too stupid to screw. I'm not buying this that young girls don't know about birth control. It's all over the television. It's all over the internet. It's all over everywhere. There's no reason not to know about birth control. They're even selling afternight pills, overnight pills at the colleges. So that's in case you had sex and you don't want to get pregnant. It's an overnight pill you take, and it makes sure that the egg doesn't get fertilized, or it expels it. So to me, there's no reason not to, no reason to allow that late term of an abortion. Rape and incest, those are discovered relatively early, and those two can be dealt with in the first trimester when the baby is still just a size of a kidney bean. There's no reason to wait for it to be fully grown, with so many waiting families out there wanting to adopt babies. I believe this is the Democrats' way of committing genocide on the black American public, because most of these abortion clinics, like Star Parker, had testified on the heartbeat bill in front of Congress when Senator Cohen jumped all over and demanded that she apologize to him. I might have told him to go fuck himself. But she's got more class than I do. But anyway, these guys, I want you to listen to some of this, and then I want you to find out, look at the horror on our senators' faces when they hear what it takes to murder a baby in the womb.
Abortions performed between roughly 14 and 24 weeks of gestation. Your patient today is 17 years old. She's 22 weeks pregnant. Her baby is the length of your hand plus a couple of inches. And she's been feeling her baby kick for the last several weeks, but she's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this. But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you, and use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart, and lungs.
Jesus Christ.
Head on the baby that size is about the size of a large plum. Can't see it, but you've pretty good idea you got it if you've got your instrument around something and your fingers are spread about as far as they go. You know you did it right if you crush down on the instrument and white material runs out of the cervix. That was the baby's brains. Then you could pull out skull pieces. And you have a day like I had a lot of times. Sometimes a little face comes back and stares back at you. Congratulations. You just successfully performed a second trimester D&E abortion. You just affirmed her right to choose.
It's not okay with me. Because based on what she's saying and based on where she's going and where she's been, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month on the final day. And that's not acceptable.
Well, that is not what happens in these cases. And using that kind of scare rhetoric is just terribly unfortunate.
And she's been feeling her baby kick for the last several weeks. But she's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this. But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you, and use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart, and lungs.
Jesus Christ.
Head on the baby that size is about the size of a large plum. Can't see it, but you've pretty good idea you got it if you've got your instrument around something and your fingers are spread about as far as they go.
Man, it grieves me to say this, but my country, the United States of America, founded specifically to be a land where God is honored, is slipping into full-tilt Satanism. There is no other word to describe the Democrat Party of today. New York Governor Cuomo, standing next to the most evil woman in America, Hillary Clinton, smiled for the cameras as Cuomo signed the despicable law legalizing the brutal killing of children throughout the pregnancy right up to the day of their birth via partial birth abortion. Listen up, America. Stabbing a healthy, living child to death as it comes out of the womb is full-blown first-degree murder, and no piece of paper signed by a governor will change that. And what makes this especially vile is that there's a 2-year waiting list for couples who want to adopt a child. Instead of giving that healthy child to a loving family, they sneer and plunge that blade into the child, spitting in the face of God and all that is decent. Those who kill children will certainly face eternal death when they stand before God on Judgment Day.
Amen.
These sadistically evil people must be stopped. I am convinced that the children slaughtered in Planned Parenthood clinics are nothing less than blood sacrifices to Satan. Americans would never tolerate puppies being treated as cruelly as those poor children. You know, I would like to open a shop in some big Democrat city and call it Planned Puppyhood. I would advertise, bring in your stray or unwanted puppies and we will tear them to pieces and throw them in the garbage. Then I would broadcast through a huge loudspeaker sounds of shrieking, crying dogs. America would have a hissy fit. There would be nationwide coverage and outrage over Planned Puppyhood. I would get death threats from all 50 states, and child-killing liberals like Hillary would curse me and immediately pass laws banning Planned Puppyhood. And yet, America cannot be bothered to stop Planned Parenthood from doing the same thing to human babies. That is pathetic. Abortion is one of this one of the national sins for which God will judge America. Now, I am praying and fasting for God to drop the hammer on Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the baby-killing champion of the Supreme Court. Lord, remove her quickly so President Trump can appoint a compassionate justice who will bring the American Holocaust to an end. And now, I'm going to drop a bombshell on America, something that every decent American can consider. Now, this is a wild bill bullet of truth. In all 50 states, the law says that any citizen may use reasonable force to stop a crime in progress. Key word being reasonable. Has the time come for the American people themselves to rise up and stop the bloodshed? This is Wild Bill for America, and I want you to do two things. Click the subscribe
Okay,
button.
back to the abortion issue. Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein are having a big old fucking egg because Trump's renominating some very good conservative judges for the Ninth Circuit Court. You know, the one they always run to and have to get overturned. Like 80% of their cases get overturned at the Supreme Court level because they're so fucking liberal dumb shits. But anyway, so they're upset over that. So lay an egg, Kamilla. Let's see it. Quack, 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 quack. I mean, you got your mouth open all the time. If Willie Brown doesn't have his dick in it, then you're squawking about how much you hate America. Your idea of taking private insurance didn't go over very well, babe. I think maybe you might be in trouble. I don't know if you know this or not. You need to save your money because you're not going to be president, sweetheart. We're not going to put in a Heinz 57 mutt. That's all there is to it. I don't give a shit. You're not black. You're Jamaican and Indian. That is not black by a long shot. What are you, like Elizabeth Warren, 125,000 black? You're as fake as Elizabeth Warren. There's another fucking squawk box. I know I hate that face, but I'm done with the women on the Democrat Party. Not a one of them represents me. Not a one of them has anything in common with me. If you think murdering a baby till the time, right up to the moment of its birth is okay in your book, then you're too fucking whacked for me. And I have to tell you something. I had an abortion when I was 15 years old. And I've regretted it every fucking birthday of my son that I did have. I wonder how old it would be. I wonder what it would have been. Would have been a doctor, would have been a mechanic, would have been whatever. I wonder what color eyes he would have had or she would have had. So don't talk to me about abortion and telling me that it's a right. If you don't know you're fucking pregnant within the first 12 weeks of being pregnant, then you're too stupid to fuck. And you're too stupid to reproduce. With the millions and millions of ways to prevent birth. Even the overnight pill is sold on campuses all across America now. There is no reason to be pregnant at that stage and murder your baby. And that's what you're doing. You're murdering it. They have tests in the first trimester to find abnormalities. They test the amniotic fluid. And at that first 12 weeks, they can tell you if it's got Down syndrome or anything like that. Now, I'm not a big proponent of bringing a baby into the world that I'm not going to be able to take care of it until its death. So I was never really against aborting something that was defected. Even nature has a way of expelling babies that are deformed or something. You'll notice that in cat litters and dog litters, and even with my geese. If there's something wrong with the goose, after it's born, it'll die. But getting on, I digress. The fact is here it is 30 years later. I regret what I did. And, you know, I think if I'd have been shown videos of what I watched today in the hearings, and that doctor describing what it was like to rip out an arm, and then a leg, and then watch the brains drizzle down the instrument. That's when you know you've got its head. I would have never aborted. I would have carried it to term, and I would have put it up for adoption. Or I would have kept it. I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't have killed it. And I've begged God to forgive me for what I've done. And I hope he has. Because when I go to meet my Maker, I want him to know I was not perfect. I was by no means super intelligent. But I do know what murder is. And I know that God's creations are all very special. And then you watch the second part of this doctor's testimony. And he had given over 1,200 abortions in his lifetime. And after him and his wife had trouble conceiving, and so they adopted. And the little girl got to be about 6 years old, got hit by a car and killed her. And she died in his arms. He went in to do an abortion not soon afterwards. And he knew he couldn't do it any longer. Because he knew what it was like to love a child. To have a child. To raise a child. And to murder someone else's child was no longer in him. God bless him and his testimony. God so loved the child that he gave his only begotten son so that we may live.
We got married about a year later and found that we had an infertility problem. After years of failed infertility treatment and several years trying to adopt a child, we were blessed with adopting a little girl 2 months short of my daughter's 6th birthday. She was killed in an auto accident and literally died in her arms in the back of an ambulance. Anyone who has children might think they have some idea of what that feels like, but unless you've been through it yourself, you have no idea whatsoever. I know people find it hard to believe, but what do you do after disaster? You bury your child and then you go back to your life. And I don't remember exactly how long it was after my daughter died that I showed up at Albany Medical Center OR number 9 to perform my first second trimester D&E abortion. I wasn't thinking of it as anything special. This was routine to me. But I reached in, literally pulled out an arm or leg and got sick. You know, earlier on I described stacking up body parts on the side of the table. It's not to, gross people out, to use a simple term. When you do an abortion, you need to keep inventory. You have to make sure you get 2 arms and 2 legs and all the pieces. If you don't, your patient's going to come back infected, bleeding, or dead. So I soldiered on and finished that abortion. And I know it sounds, as I said, hard for people to believe, but I'm telling you straight up my experience. After over 1,200 abortions, first and second trimester up to 24 weeks and all the rest of it, and being very dedicated to it, for the first time in my life, I really looked. I really looked at that pile of body parts on the side of the table. And I didn't see her wonderful right to choose, and I didn't see all the money I just made. All I could see was somebody's son or daughter. And I stopped doing late-term abortions after that, and several months later stopped doing all abortions.
Good for you. Bless you.